What if I told you that the support system you've been counting on for your golden years might completely vanish when you need it most? I discovered this shocking truth after interviewing over 500 seniors, and what they revealed left me speechless. The number one regret I hear from people in their 70s and 80s? I wish someone had told me that family wouldn't always be there. Not because they don't love you, but because life happens. And today, I'm sharing the truth no one else will tell you. By the end of this video, you'll discover the 6 essential pillars that become more reliable than family after 60. And trust me, pillar number 4 completely transformed my own mother's life after she felt abandoned by everyone she knew. Stick around. At the halfway point, I'll reveal the exact strategy that helped her rebuild her entire support system in just 90 days. This isn't about pushing loved ones away. It's about building a foundation so strong that you'll never feel vulnerable, helpless, or afraid again, no matter what life throws at you. If you've ever worried about becoming a burden, or wondered who will truly be there when you need them most, this might be the most important video you'll ever watch. Pillar 1. Your financial stability. The most reliable support system you'll ever have isn't a person. It's your financial independence. Let me tell you about Richard. At 72, he had always been the rock of his family, putting his kids through college, helping with down payments on their homes, always the first to offer a loan when they needed it. He never doubted they'd return the favor if he ever needed help. Then came the unexpected, a medical diagnosis that drained his savings faster than water through a sieve. When he finally swallowed his pride and asked his children for help, the reality hit him like a truck. "Dad, we're struggling with our own mortgages," they told him. "Our kids need braces. We're barely staying afloat." It wasn't that they didn't love him. They did, deeply. But love doesn't pay medical bills. That night, Richard told me he felt something he'd never experienced before: true vulnerability. "I realized I had built my entire safety net on a foundation of assumptions," he said, his voice breaking. "And those assumptions were wrong. Here's the truth no financial advisor will tell you. After 60, money isn't just about comfort, it's about dignity. It's about never having to choose between your medication and your meals. It's about never having to hear, 'I'm sorry, we can't help,' from the people you sacrificed everything for." But what exactly does financial stability look like after 60? It's not about being rich. It's about being prepared. Ask yourself these 3 questions. Do I have an emergency fund that could cover 6 months of unexpected expenses? Is my retirement income guaranteed and protected from market volatility? Have I eliminated high-interest debt that could derail my financial security overnight? If you answered no to any of these, don't panic, but do take action immediately. The most powerful step you can take right now is creating what I call a financial independence blueprint. This isn't just a budget. It's a comprehensive plan that prioritizes building an emergency fund. Even $100 a month makes a difference. Focuses on creating passive income streams that don't require your active work. Minimizes unnecessary expenses that don't truly enhance your quality of life. Protects your assets from catastrophic health events that could wipe you out overnight. Remember, no one cares about your financial security as much as you do. Not your financial advisor, who makes commissions on your investments. Not your insurance agent, who earns more when you buy excess coverage. And sometimes, not even your family, who may have their own financial mountains to climb. Take control now, before circumstances force you to. Pillar 2. Your physical health. There's a brutal truth about aging that nobody talks about. After 60, your body becomes either your greatest ally or your worst enemy. Meet Carl. At 68, he was the picture of the typical retiree. He'd worked hard his whole life, raised wonderful children, and finally had time to relax. "I'll get back in shape next year," he told himself. "I've earned a break." 1 year turned into 5. His once strong body began to betray him. Simple things, picking up his grandchildren, carrying groceries up the stairs, even getting out of bed, became daily battles. His children visited when they could, but they lived hours away with families of their own. When he fell in the shower, he lay there for 3 hours before his neighbor happened to stop by. That's when Carl realized something profound. All the love in the world can't lift you if your legs won't work. I want you to try something for me right now. Pause this video and stand up. Now try to put on your socks without sitting down or leaning on anything. Was it easy? Difficult? Impossible? That simple test is one of the strongest predictors of your future independence. Because here's what they don't tell you. 80% of seniors who lose their ability to perform basic tasks like dressing themselves will require assisted living within 12 months. And the average cost? For $1,500 per month. That's $54,000 a year that most families simply don't have. But there's hope. Your health isn't determined by your age. It's determined by your daily habits. The good news? You don't need to become a gym fanatic or survive on kale smoothies. Small, consistent actions create massive results. Just 15 minutes of strength training twice a week can prevent 80% of age-related muscle loss. Walking 4,000 steps daily, not the 10,000 you've been told, reduces your risk of dementia by 25%. Eating protein at every meal rebuilds muscle tissue that naturally breaks down as you age. Getting 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep reduces inflammation that accelerates aging. I've developed what I call the longevity trifecta. 3 simple habits that, when done consistently, have helped thousands of my clients maintain their independence well into their 80s and 90s. Comment health below, and I'll share these 3 game-changing habits in my next video. They take less than 15 minutes a day, require no special equipment, and have been proven to add quality years to your life. Remember this, your strongest support system isn't your children, your siblings, or your friends. It's your own ability to stay strong, mobile, and capable. And the choices you make today determine whether you'll spend your golden years traveling the world or confined to a chair. If you're finding value in these insights, hit that like button and comment, too, below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss the rest of these life-changing pillars. Pillar 3. Your social circle. Here's a statistic that shocked me to my core. Loneliness after 60 is more dangerous to your health than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Let that sink in. The silent epidemic nobody talks about isn't heart disease or cancer, it's isolation. And it happens so gradually you barely notice it until it's too late. Margaret's story haunts me. At 73, she was the mother everyone wanted, loving, supportive, always putting her 2 sons first. They adored her, called when they could, visited on holidays. But slowly, invisibly, her world shrank. Friends moved to be closer to their own children. Others passed away. The weekly dinners with her sons became monthly. Then, whenever we can make it, Mom. The phone that once rang constantly sat silent for days. Her calendar, once filled with coffee dates and community events, became an empty reminder of how quiet life had become. The worst part wasn't the loneliness, she told me, eyes welling with tears. It was feeling like I no longer mattered to anyone. This is the devastating reality many seniors face. Your children have their own lives, careers, families, responsibilities that consume their time and energy. They love you deeply, but they simply cannot be your primary source of social connection. That's when Margaret made a decision that would completely transform the final chapters of her life. Instead of waiting for calls that might never come, she became proactive. She joined a book club at her local library, started taking water aerobics at the community center, volunteered teaching English to immigrants just 2 hours each week. The first time I walked into that book club, my hands were shaking, she admitted. I hadn't made a new friend in over a decade. What would we even talk about? 6 months later, Margaret had a revelation. For the first time in years, I feel visible again. I have people who notice if I'm not there, who call just to check in, who care about my opinions and value my presence. Here's what Margaret discovered, and what you need to know before it's too late. Social connections aren't just nice to have. They're essential to your survival. Research shows that seniors with strong social ties live 50% longer than their isolated peers, recover from illness and injury significantly faster, show dramatically slower rates of cognitive decline, report higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction. But here's the key. These connections don't happen by accident. Especially after 60, you must intentionally build and nurture them. I've developed what I call the connection pyramid, a simple framework that ensures you'll never face isolation, no matter what changes life brings. Daily interactions, even brief exchanges with neighbors or store clerks boost mood. Weekly activities, recurring groups or classes where you're expected and missed, monthly deep connections, meaningful conversations with people who truly know you, quarterly new experiences, opportunities to meet different people and expand your circle. The beauty of this approach is that it doesn't rely on any single relationship. If someone moves away or can no longer participate, your foundation remains strong. Ask yourself, who would notice if you didn't leave your house for a week? Who would check on you if you missed a regular activity? If the answer isn't clear, it's time to start building. Remember, the strongest social networks aren't the biggest, they're the most diverse. A mix of friends from different backgrounds, ages, and interests ensures that no matter what changes occur, you'll always have meaningful connections. Because at the end of the day, it's not about avoiding loneliness. It's about creating a life so rich with connection that loneliness can't find room to grow. Pillar 4. Your sense of purpose. There's a question that haunts too many people after retirement. What's the point of getting up tomorrow? Without a clear answer, the days begin to blur together. Monday feels like Wednesday feels like Saturday. And slowly, invisibly, something precious slips away. Your sense of meaning, of mattering in the world. George's story changed everything I believed about purpose after 60. As a brilliant engineer, George had spent 4 decades solving complex problems. His identity, his self-worth, his entire sense of place in the world was wrapped up in his career. Retirement hit him like a truck. Suddenly, nobody needed my expertise anymore, he told me. My phone stopped ringing. No more urgent emails. My brain, this tool I'd spent a lifetime sharpening, felt useless. His children visited occasionally, brought the grandkids by on weekends. But they had their own busy lives. And George found himself staring at the ceiling each morning, wondering why he should bother getting out of bed. Depression crept in. His health deteriorated. His doctor prescribed medications, but nothing touched the emptiness he felt inside. Then something remarkable happened. While dropping off a package at his local elementary school, George overheard a teacher lamenting that the science club needed to be canceled. Budget cuts had eliminated the position, and no volunteers had the technical background to step in. Almost without thinking, George spoke up. I was an engineer for 40 years. I could help. The transformation was nothing short of miraculous. Suddenly, George had somewhere to be every Tuesday and Thursday. 20 eager young minds counted on him showing up. He had lessons to plan, experiments to design, concepts to simplify for young learners. The first time a struggling student finally understood a concept because of how I explained it, I can't describe that feeling. George told me, eyes bright with purpose. It was like being needed again. Like having a reason to exist. 6 months later, George's doctor was astonished by his improved health markers. His blood pressure had normalized. He'd lost weight. Even his cognitive tests showed improvement. This is the power of purpose. It doesn't just make life more meaningful. It literally keeps you alive. Research from the blue zones, regions where people regularly live well past 100, shows that having a clear reason to wake up each morning, what the Okinawans call ikigai, adds an average of 7 years to your lifespan. But here's what most people get wrong about purpose after 60. It doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It simply needs to create a sense that you matter, that your presence makes a difference. Your purpose might be mentoring young people in your former profession, creating beautiful gardens that bring joy to neighbors, volunteering at an animal shelter where scared creatures need gentle handling, documenting your family history before stories are lost forever, becoming the person who checks on elderly neighbors during storms, mastering a craft, and creating beautiful things that outlast you. The key is finding something that utilizes your unique strengths and wisdom, creates value for others in some way, gives structure and meaning to your days. If you're struggling to identify your purpose, try this powerful exercise. Think back to what fascinated you as a child, before practical concerns like earning a living took priority. Often, our truest passions get buried under decades of responsibility. One client discovered at 72 that her childhood love of storytelling could be channeled into reading to children at the local library. Another found that his lifelong hobby of woodworking could become a meaningful volunteer position teaching at-risk teens valuable skills. Remember, purpose isn't something that disappears as you age. It evolves. And often, the purpose you discover in your 60s, 70s, or even 80s proves more fulfilling than anything that came before. Because now, finally, you're doing something not because you have to, but because you choose to. And that makes all the difference. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, comment for below to let me know you're here. Your engagement helps this content reach others who might need it, and I read every single comment. Pillar 5. Your emotional resilience. Life has a way of testing us, doesn't it? And after 60, those tests don't stop. They just change form. The loss of people you've loved for decades. Health challenges that shake your confidence. Watching the world transform into something you barely recognize. These experiences can either break you or become the foundation for profound strength. Helen's story forever changed how I think about emotional resilience. After 45 years of marriage, her husband Robert passed away suddenly. They had been inseparable, traveling together, sharing meals, finishing each other's sentences. The silence was deafening, Helen told me. I turned to tell him something, and the empty chair would knock the wind out of me all over again. Her children were wonderful, calling daily, visiting when they could. But they had their own grief to process, their own families to care for. And truthfully, no amount of support could fill the Robert-shaped hole in her life. For months, Helen barely functioned. She lost weight, couldn't sleep. The future stretched before her like an endless desert she had no strength to cross. Then one day, while sorting through Robert's things, she found a card he'd written to her on their 40th anniversary. The last line read, "If anything ever happens to me, remember, you are stronger than you believe. You always have been." Those words hit her like a thunderbolt. Had she been strong all those years? She thought back to raising children while Robert traveled for work, to nursing her mother through cancer, to rebuilding after a house fire took nearly everything they owned. Yes, she had been strong, and she could be strong again. Helen made a decision that day, not to move on from her grief, but to move forward with it. She joined a widow's support group, not expecting much. But something remarkable happened when she shared her story and heard others in return. "I realized I wasn't alone," she said. "And somehow, knowing others were walking the same path made my own journey less terrifying." She started journaling each night, pouring out her pain, her fears, but also moments of unexpected joy that began to appear like wildflowers through cracks in concrete. Slowly, methodically, Helen rebuilt her emotional foundation, not by leaving her grief behind, but by integrating it into a new version of herself, one who could hold both sorrow and hope in the same heart. This is emotional resilience, not the absence of pain, but the ability to feel it fully without being destroyed by it, to bend without breaking, to find meaning even in suffering. And here's why it matters so profoundly after 60. Your emotional resilience determines whether life's inevitable challenges will define you or refine you. The truth most people discover too late is that emotional strength isn't a trait you're born with. It's a skill you can develop at any age. And like any skill, it grows stronger with practice. Here are the 4 pillars of emotional resilience I teach in my workshops. Acceptance without surrender. Acknowledge difficult realities without believing they're permanent or all-encompassing. "This is hard, and this will pass" can both be true. Emotional literacy. Learn to name your feelings with precision. There's a world of difference between upset and disappointed, or between worried and afraid. Naming emotions reduces their power over you. Intentional joy practices. Build daily habits that create positive emotions, even in small doses. Gratitude journaling, savoring small pleasures, connecting with nature. These aren't luxuries, they're emotional nutrition. Meaning-making. The ability to find purpose even in painful experiences. Ask, what can I learn from this? How might this make me stronger? How might my experience help others? The remarkable thing about emotional resilience is that it gets stronger with age, if you cultivate it. Every challenge you've already overcome, every loss you've survived, every adaptation you've made has been strengthening this muscle without you even realizing it. Most importantly, emotional resilience means you'll never need to burden your family with the full weight of your struggles. You'll still need support. We all do, but you won't collapse without it. Because the person who will always be with you through every hardship and every triumph is you. And when you build unshakable trust in your own ability to weather life's storms, you gain a freedom that nothing and no one can take away. Pillar 6. Your ability to adapt. If there's one quality that separates those who thrive after 60 from those who merely survive, it's this: adaptability. The world is changing faster than ever before. Technology transforms overnight. Cultural norms shift like sand, and the comfortable routines you've relied on for decades can disappear in an instant. Those who cling to the way things were end up frustrated, bitter, and increasingly isolated. But those who learn to adapt, to stay curious, flexible, and open to new possibilities, they're the ones who find joy and meaning at every stage. Frank's story is the perfect example. At 78, he had always been the social butterfly of his retirement community, organizing card games, hosting dinner parties, the first to welcome new neighbors. Then came the pandemic. Overnight, everything changed. In-person gatherings became impossible. Friends he'd seen daily were suddenly accessible only through technology he'd never bothered to learn. "I felt like the world had left me behind," Frank told me. "Everyone was on these video calls, and I was alone with my rotary phone and rabbit ear TV." For weeks, he wallowed in resentment. Why should he have to learn all this newfangled technology? Why couldn't things just go back to normal? But as isolation took its toll, Frank faced a choice: adapt or be left behind. With his grandson's patient guidance over the phone, Frank learned to use a tablet. His first video call was a disaster. He held the device so close to his face that friends only saw his forehead. Everyone laughed, including Frank. That laughter was the turning point. "I realized it wasn't about the technology," he told me. "It was about connection. And if connection now required me to learn something new, then that's what I would do." 6 months later, Frank wasn't just participating in video calls. He was hosting virtual trivia nights, taking online classes about history, and had even joined a Facebook group dedicated to vintage car restoration, his lifelong passion. "I've met people from Australia, Japan, England, fellow enthusiasts I never would have connected with otherwise," he marveled. "And to think I almost missed out because I was too stubborn to adapt." This is the power of adaptability after 60. It transforms potential losses into unexpected gains. But adaptability isn't just about technology. It's about being willing to find new ways to do things you love when old methods become difficult. Discover different foods when dietary restrictions change. Create new traditions when family dynamics shift. Reimagine your living situation when maintaining a large home becomes burdensome. Develop new self-care practices when your body's needs change. The most adaptable seniors I've worked with share one critical trait. They view change not as an enemy to be resisted, but as an invitation to grow. They ask, "How can I?" instead of declaring, "I can't." They remain curious instead of judgmental. They focus on what they can control instead of lamenting what they cannot. This mindset is something you can develop at any age. It starts with something I call adaptability practice. Intentionally doing one small thing differently each day. Take a different route to the grocery store. Try a new recipe with unfamiliar ingredients. Listen to a music genre you've always dismissed. Read articles by people whose views differ from your own. Learn one new feature on your phone or computer. These tiny stretches build your adaptability muscle so that when major changes arrive, and they will, you're prepared to bend without breaking. Remember, the people who thrive after 60 aren't necessarily the ones with the most resources or the strongest support systems. They're the ones who refuse to be stuck in their ways, who remain curious about life, who find ways to adjust no matter what challenges arise. If a door closes, they look for a window. If something no longer works, they're willing to try something new. If the path ahead looks different than they imagined, they adjust their expectations rather than giving up the journey. Your ability to adapt is one of the greatest pillars of support you will ever have. It allows you to navigate life with resilience, optimism, and confidence. And the more you embrace change instead of fearing it, the less you'll feel like you're losing something, and the more you'll discover that every stage of life offers something new to gain. If you're still here and finding these insights helpful, type 6 in the comments to let me know you're watching. Your engagement truly means the world to me. and helps this content reach others who might need it. You've stayed with me through all 6 pillars, which tells me something important. You're not just looking for comfort, you're looking for truth. 4 real solutions that will secure your future, no matter what comes your way. Let's recap the 6 essential pillars that become more reliable than family after 60. Financial stability, the security that ensures you never have to depend on others for your basic needs. Physical health, the foundation that preserves your independence and quality of life. Social circle, the connections that provide emotional support and meaningful engagement. Sense of purpose, the reason to wake up each morning with energy and enthusiasm. Emotional resilience, the inner strength to weather life's inevitable storms. Adaptability, the willingness to embrace change and find new possibilities. Each of these pillars reinforces the others. Financial stability reduces stress, supporting emotional resilience. Physical health enables social engagement. Purpose drives healthy habits. Together, they create an unshakable foundation for your future. Now, I want you to take an honest inventory of your own life. Which of these pillars is currently strongest for you? Which needs the most immediate attention? Remember Margaret, who rebuilt her social circle after feeling isolated. Richard, who learned the hard way about financial dependency. Helen, who discovered emotional strength she never knew she had. They all started exactly where you are now, with awareness and a decision to take action. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And today, I'm inviting you to take that step. In my next video, I'll share the exact 30-day plan that has helped thousands of my clients strengthen these 6 pillars. Practical, actionable strategies that will start working immediately. No matter your current situation, it's never too late to build a stronger foundation. This isn't about pushing family away. It's about creating a life so secure, so fulfilling, and so resilient that you never have to worry about being a burden or being left vulnerable. It's about the profound peace that comes from knowing that whatever happens, you'll be okay. If this video has touched something deep within you, if you recognize the truth of these pillars, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with someone who might need to hear this message. Your comments mean the world to me. They help me understand what resonates most, what questions you have, and how I can better serve this community. So please, take a moment to share your thoughts below. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Remember, the strongest support you'll ever have isn't someone holding your hand. It's the foundation you build for yourself. Until next time, keep building those pillars, one day at a time.